Well, perhaps the third time's the charm. We're trying to get you the Chapter 6 edition of 10, where it's cut out in the middle each time, of R.G. LeTourneau. It's a good story. I know you want to listen to it. So, without further ado, let's try to get to there. See if we can have any better fortune this time. Come on.
Stories of Great Christians. From the Department of Broadcasting of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago, we bring you Chapter 6 of Mover of Men and Mountains, the story of Robert Gilmore LeTourneau. (1926). My family and my business were growing. Evelyn and I now had 3 children, Louise, Donald, and Richard. Counting Caleb, who died in infancy, eventually we'd have a family of 6 boys and a girl. I always have said that Mom, that's Evelyn, specializes in boys. As for the business, well, it was 5 years before I realized that I really was in business. We had an acre of land at 112 Moss Avenue in Stockton, California. Gradually, the yard started to fill up with steel and cable and machinery. I didn't start out planning to be a manufacturer. I started out as a contractor who needed specialized equipment. So I invented and made my own, or modified what I could buy. I hired my crews to build the highways or railroad yards or whatever else we had won a contract for. And then, during slack seasons, used these same men to build new machines or repair the old ones. In this process, I suddenly realized that I had sold a welding outfit and a scraper to one of my biggest competitors. That was the beginning. Although for several years to come, I really thought my major occupation was that of contractor.
You're LeTourneau, right? They told me you were a big man.
Well, Mr. Kaiser, it's a pleasure.
Call me Henry. How old are you?
38.
I'm only 44. Quit school when I was 13. Understand you quit when you were 14. So there's no need to stand on ceremony. I'll call you Bob.
Yes, sir.
Henry.
Henry?
I sure like what I see around here. These machines you have aren't toys or flukes. They're the means to make big jobs smaller. I want to buy this mountain mover. In fact, I want to buy 3 of them. Exactly what I need for a job we're doing in the high Sierras.
I heard you're building a dam up there.
Man, the only way I can shave time on my contract is to have your machines. Better yet, Bob, I'll buy your patents and build the machines myself. I'll give you $50,000 for your patents on the mountain mover. What's more, I'll buy the machines that make the mountain mover. And I'll contract with you to build me a new factory to build them in Oakland. You set the price, I'll trust you. And I think we can do business. Now, Bob, are you the kind of person who needs a week to think things over? Or do you recognize a good deal right off the bat? What'll it be?
Henry Kaiser was a non-stop individual if I ever saw one. I didn't have to think long about his offer. Anything I made was for sale. And considering that I got the idea for those telescoping buckets from a 10-cent collapsible aluminum cup, the price Kaiser offered was mighty attractive. That began a long and sometimes stormy association. I learned a lot from him: how to organize myself and my job, how to take full responsibility when things went wrong. Example, I sold him 3 hoppers, a new invention, for a job in Mississippi. Although I told Henry I didn't think they'd work in the mud, sure enough they didn't. And I got a telephone call asking me to rush down and fix things up. Well, I had other things on my mind and in effect told Henry, I told you so. An hour later I realized I hadn't been a very good Christian in that situation and phoned back to say I was on the way. I didn't get to speak to Henry.
Mr. Kaiser says don't bother. We're figuring it out from here and where we'll buy our next machines.
I apologized to Henry later and had a chance to help him out in a couple of other jobs. Meanwhile, we had developed a cable-controlled scraper half the size of the mountain mover, but twice as fast, and a machine that could move 20 tons of dirt at a time. The patents I'd sold Henry a few years before were still useful, but they were now obsolete.
Bob, you better slow down.
Oh, sorry, Evelyn. Thanks.
You're glad to be going back to Stockton.
Well, I'm not that wild about Los Angeles, but I did enjoy being in the Bible school.
Oh, Bob, I don't think you enjoyed it.
I learned a lot. You certainly did. And it'll probably help you more than me, seeing as you do so much Bible teaching.
It was a wonderful 3 months. Oh, poor Bob.
Well, not all that poor. We could afford to take a 3-month leave of absence.
Oh, you know what I mean. You're just not cut out for the classroom.
You're right. I'm cut out to be on a job out of doors, or stay behind a drafting table, or work with my big toys.
At all hours.
Hey, I'll be glad to see Louise and the boys.
Oh, and I imagine their grandparents will be glad to see us.
People sometimes ask me if I only employ Christians. My answer is no. I attracted a lot of Christians to my jobs, and I was glad to have them because I believe Christians can work rings around any roughneck. But I like to have a few roughnecks around for the believers to work on. If we don't work on Sundays, though, with a very few emergency exceptions, I found that aside from the spiritual benefits, the roughnecks won't blow everything on Saturday night if they don't have to work on Sunday. I guess working the big machines gave the men a sense of dignity and a respect that they hadn't enjoyed before. They weren't common laborers. They weren't mule skinners anymore. They were technicians, and morale was high. I will say this, though. Working with Christians doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have any problems. An experience I would just as soon forget was the time we were working on the Newhall Highway cutoff near Bakersfield. My partner was a member of my church, and we had formed the L&L Company for this one job.
Why aren't you out there in that cut? This job will never get done with you sitting behind that desk.
Well, now, Mac, you know I spend very little time behind this desk. What's the problem?
We're losing our shirts on this job. That's the problem.
Look, the test holes looked good, but there's just more clay and shale than we counted on. The rooters are breaking it up. We've got to use the power shovels and the big hoppers, and that takes more time and more money.
Well, the way things are going, we're going to lose $100,000 in this job.
I hope you're wrong, but you could be right.
I just can't afford that kind of loss.
Well, neither can I, Mac. Now, something else is bothering you. I'm sure of it. Now, what is it?
All right, I'll come right out with it. I'll tell you what's really wrong with this job. You've got too many relatives working on it.
Well, you may have me there. Let's see. There's my brother Louis and my wife.
Now, Louie's okay. He's the only one who knows how to keep books.
And I have 3 brothers-in-law. You better include Jack and Joe Salvador, too, because they're practically members of the family. You think that's too many relatives?
Yes.
Well, why, Mac? Aren't they doing their job?
They're bad for morale.
Mac, I've always been of the opinion that there's no harm in hiring relatives as long as they work twice as hard as anyone else. And another thing, the way our money situation is getting, relatives will go without a salary a lot longer than anyone else. Mac, if you have qualified relatives, I'll be glad to hire them.
That's not what I had in mind.
Well, what do you suggest I do?
Fire him. All except Louie.
Oh, Mac, you don't make things easy for me. Maybe both of us should pray about it. The next day, I heard about a possible contract with the Southern Pacific near San Francisco. My bid was accepted, and I packed the relatives off to show what they could do, all of them except Louis. I commuted back and forth on the overnight trains to check on both jobs. Meanwhile, back in Bakersfield, one of our power shovels stalled at the entrance to the cut. It simply couldn't proceed. It They'd stopped the traffic and warning lights were put out. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in my tent when I heard the rumble. I thought I was back in the San Francisco quake. One whole side of the mountain had fallen in. And my first thought was for my crew. But miraculously, every person was accounted for. There was no loss of life. What happened was that we had cut down to 180 feet, cutting through a level of oil shale. A great mass of earth and stone on the west wall simply slid away on that greasy bed of stone. It was a time for great rejoicing and thanksgiving. Mac, don't you realize what this means? We don't have any more digging to do. All we have to do is haul it away. We won't lose money on this job. We'll break even and may even make a few dollars.
I understand you made a pretty fair profit on that San Francisco job.
Well, I really don't see what that has to do with this job.
You sent part of our crew up there.
Well, I shipped my relatives to whom you objected, and if I may say so, they proved themselves quite well.
We are partners, aren't we?
Not on that leveling job. I bid on that one myself.
But you did spend a lot of time up there. It did affect progress here, and I think we should split that profit 50-50.
You're not serious.
I most certainly am.
Well, you don't have a leg to stand on, Mac. It's so obvious.
I'll sue if I have to.
You'd go to court over this?
I would.
Oh, Mac, I guess I'd like to see you sue me, because I think you'd lose. And I'm angry enough right now to want to see that. But that wouldn't be right. This isn't any way for two Christians to act.
Just split everything 50-50 and I'll be satisfied. 50-50 on both jobs.
I really don't have to, Mac. But I'll do it. Because I don't want to cause a scandal in our church or in our community. But you know, this kind of 50-50 partnership reminds me of the cook who made 50-50 rabbit stew. One horse and one rabbit. Sort of one-sided. But no hard feelings.
Everybody here? Let's try to get this in. Well, I believe we're all here and can proceed. This is an exciting day, Bob.
It sure is, Mr. Case.
3 weeks ago, on October 30th, the stock market collapsed and the economic future of this country seemed to be in doubt.
Except here in Stockton.
Right. Because today, November 19th, 1929, we meet together to sign the Articles of Incorporation of R.G. LeTourneau Incorporated. Evelyn, would you read the first of the two purposes of this corporation?
To engage in the business of constructing streets, roads, highways, railroads, dams, waterways, and all other structures and improvements of every kind and nature upon public or private property.
And Bob?
To invent, design, plan, construct, manufacture, operate, sell, otherwise deal in machinery, tools, and implements of every kind and nature. On paper, we were worth 1,000 shares at $100 each, plus $27,000 in factory, tools, and inventory. It was another milestone in trying to become God's businessman. By accepting God as your partner, no limit can be placed on what can be achieved. But God is no remote partner, satisfied if you go to church on Sunday and drop some religious money, the small change that goes to church, on the platter. He isn't overwhelmed if you read the Bible once in a while and obey the golden rule. That isn't active Christianity. Just a half-hearted way of getting along. When you go into partnership with God, you've got a partner closer and more active than any human partner you can ever get. He participates fully in everything you let him do. When you start putting on airs and thinking you're doing it with your own head of steam, he can set you down quicker and harder than a thunderbolt. Say, do I know that? There's nothing dull about being in partnership with God. And so we conclude Chapter 6 of Mover of Men and Mountains, the story of R.G. LeTourneau. This is another in the series, Stories of Great Christians, produced by the Department of Broadcasting of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.
Well, there you have it, the end of Chapter 6 of R.G. LeTourneau. Let's see if the video took on that spot, and if it did, hey, you're in luck, you get to see it. And if you would be so kind, leave a comment if you're so inclined. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to hit subscribe when you come along as a regular, and you don't miss out any day on anything. Till next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.